Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to tackle putting a cuff on a pair of women's pants. One of my customers brought me pants that her husband had ironed, and I don't know if you can see this, there's a burn spot on the pants that are about, how far is that? That's about 6 inches from the bottom of the leg. So we are going to put a cuff on that, shorten it, make it like a cropped pant. That's what she asked for, so that's what I'm doing. And kudos to all the men out there that iron. Let's get started. The first thing I've done is remove the existing cuff. The pants are now inside out. This process, I have to say, is a little bit different than if you had men's dress pants that arrived and they were way too long and you were going to shorten them and include a cuff. This is different because we're not cutting anything off of the length of the pant. What we're doing is covering up that burn mark. It's a slight bit different. But what I've done so far is I've taken on the one leg that I've already taken the cuff down, the hem. And what I've done is I've just put a small hem on there. I've turned it over one. Oh, you can't really see that in the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press that. I always press as you go along. And then this pin here, I pinned it on the other side where the top of the burn mark is, because that's the part we want to cover. So I've drawn a line there with my chalk, and now I will complete drawing that line, making sure I'm lined up here, and extend the line across, and again here. I don't know if there's any of you are sewers out there, but I do not like sewing on anything that's black because it's very difficult to see the thread. So if you have to rip anything out, it takes a lot longer than it would if it was on another color. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to press this, and then I'll come back and show you what is next. Actually, I lie. I am going to do exactly the same thing to the other leg. Turn the cuff like, turn the hem in like this, and indicate the line of where the cuff needs to come up, and then I'll come back. I have pressed the hem that I turned under, and I also marked the other pair of pants. But before we go any further, I just wanted to explain to you all that you want to take the pants, they're inside out, this is the crotch area, and we want to make sure that what we're doing is even on both legs. That would not be good if it wasn't. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this up, and I'm going to pin it and sew it right where that line is, because that's where I'm eventually going to turn it. So right now, a little tricky because you have to make sure you match the side seam. Which way is the seam laying? If it's laying to the left down here, we want it to be laying in the same direction up here. So I'm just taking it to the top of where that chalk mark is, and I'm going to put a pin in that. I'm going to do that on the other side, pin in that. This will make sense in a few minutes once I get this. Forgot to check the side, the seam, to see which way this. Yeah, okay, we're on the right track here. So make sure that seam matches, because we're going to have to tack it down on the other side. There's going to be a bit of a difference because as you go down the leg tapers. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Pin it in these places, and I'll do the same to the other leg, and I will show you what I'm doing on the sewing machine also. What I've done is I've taken the arm off of my sewing machine so I could get the pant leg in, and I am going to use this is a universal needle that I have on my machine, and I'm going to use a 3-stitch length just to give it a little bit of give. I'm stitching as close to the back seam as I can, or rather to the edge of the pant line, taking it slow just so that I'm not allowing any wrinkles to be in there. We don't want wrinkles. So I am going to go ahead and stitch both pant legs, and then we will come back and I'll show you what the next step is. And that is both pant legs sewn for this part of the process. Now I'm going to turn them right side out and I'll press what I've done so far. Being careful not to burn the black pants. Always use a press cloth when you're ironing black. They tend to become shiny. Pants have been pressed. This is the leg with the burn mark on it. I'm not sure if you can see that seam, but there's a seam right there. So what I'm doing now is I'm taking the part that's sewn together, turning it up, and I'm turning it to just where, being black, it's so difficult to see. Let me use a pin. It'll be easier to take a look. Here's where my seam is, right here. There's the burn mark right there. So I'm turning this up to just where that seam is, just sort of touching the seam. I'm going to pin it in place. Of course, I'm not sewing it right here. And I am going to do the same thing on the side. And on the side here, see this seam here and here, I want to make sure that matches. And I'm going to put a pin in here. And what I'm going to do is take this to the sewing machine and just sew like you sew in the ditch, sort of right around this area here. Not very far down, but enough to tack it to the seam. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, like this. Well-used pins here. And again, that's so difficult to see that black stitch, black on black. I'll just pin that. It's not gonna remain pinned. And do the same on the other leg. Pin to where this other stitching is. Ouch. I don't know how many times I've stuck a pin in my finger. More times than I can count. And here comes the important part. One of the important parts. I'm going to take my inseam, measure from the crotch. Make sure it's even. And I also want to make sure that the cuff is even. I want to make sure that it's even on both sides. See, this one's a tad longer, so I'm just going to turn that down. No one would notice that, but I notice it. Let's measure that again. And that's better. And the same thing on this pant leg. Again, that's a tad longer on this side. So I'm going to change that. And what I'm going to do, as I just mentioned, is I'm going to tack it down right in here on the side seam of both legs. And the pants are complete. And if you found this video helpful, I would love it if you would subscribe. I'm just starting out on YouTube, trying to build up my subscribers and hopefully become monetized, and it's going to help with retirement. So I thank you for doing that. And here is the pant leg. See? Here. And I know it's really difficult. Black is so difficult to see, as I've mentioned to you before. This is I don't know if you can see that. But in there is where the burn is. Now I've pressed them, and you would never know that there was anything going on inside there. There is a bit of slack because the lower part of the leg is a little more narrow, not much, but enough certainly that I could not tack that down in any other places other than the two sides. And I'm going to have a very happy customer because she really loves these pants. And that was the first thing she asked me is, can I put a cuff on them? I said, of course I can. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe and stay tuned for more.